Commander Pax Vroon of the Galactic Confederation sat at his command station, 8 tentacles tapping impatiently against the smooth metal console. The view screen before him showed a small blue planet, third from its sun, Earth. What a ridiculous name for a planet, almost as ridiculous as the creatures who inhabited it. "Tell me again why we are monitoring these humans?" Pax asked, the word feeling foreign in his 3 mouths. Science officer Lena Tack fluttered her translucent wings in annoyance. "Because, Commander, they have developed faster than light travel decades ahead of our projections. The High Council wants constant surveillance until we determine if they pose a threat." "A threat?" Pax laughed, a gurgling sound that bubbled from his central mouth. "Have you seen them? Bipedal creatures with no natural defenses. 2 eyes? Only 2 arms? They are practically defenseless." Lena's compound eyes flashed with color patterns indicating caution. "With respect, Commander, their rapid technological advancement suggests..." It suggests nothing except dumb luck," Pax interrupted. "Their history is filled with violence, war, and primitive emotions. They will destroy themselves before they become a galactic power." Security Chief Zorb Nex, a hulking mass of chitinous plates and sensory appendages, joined the conversation. "The Commander's assessment aligns with my security analysis. Humans lack the mental discipline for sustained interstellar presence." "Exactly." Pax nodded, all 3 of his heads in agreement. "Their emotional volatility alone makes them unsuitable for space diplomacy. Especially this rage they experience." "Rage?" asked Junior Officer Callan Prost, the youngest crew member, whose exoskeleton hadn't fully hardened yet. "Yes, rage," Pax explained with the smug superiority of someone who believed they understood something they actually didn't. Humans experience this bizarre emotional overload when threatened or provoked. Their judgment centers shut down, adrenaline floods their system, and they become unpredictable, sometimes even violent. "That sounds concerning," Colin said. "It's primitive." Pax snorted through his upper nostrils. "Advanced species like ours evolved beyond such emotions millennia ago. We make decisions based on logic and reason, not chemical surges and primal instincts." Lena's wings fluttered again, this time with disagreement. "I have studied human history extensively, Commander. Their emotional responses, while different from our own, shouldn't be dismissed. Rage has driven many of their greatest achievements." "Like what? More efficient ways to kill each other?" Pax laughed again. "No, Commander. Like revolutions against oppression, medical breakthroughs after losing loved ones, technological innovations born from frustration with limitations." Lena's voice carried a hint of admiration that made Pax uncomfortable. "Enough about humans," Pax waved a dismissive tentacle. "They are an amusing curiosity, nothing more. Our mission is observation only. We maintain distance, we record data, and we report back to the Confederation." End of discussion. The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of equipment. Pax felt satisfied. His crew needed reminding that humans were simply another primitive species to catalog, study, and ultimately ignore. How wrong he was. Captain Ilara Ward of the Earth vessel Thunderchild sat in her command chair, fingers drumming against the armrest. The holographic display showed a small, purple-tinged planet that reminded her of an oversized plum. Nexus Prime, home to one of the Galactic Confederation's most advanced civilizations. "They are still following us, aren't they?" she asked without looking away from the display. Lieutenant Jamie Vasquez nodded. "Yes, Captain. The Confederation vessel has maintained pursuit since we left Earth space. They are keeping their distance, but they are definitely tracking us." "Let them watch," Ilara said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm sure Commander Pax Vroon is having the time of his 3-headed life studying the primitive humans." Commander Alex Tanner, her first officer, raised an eyebrow. "You know the commander's name?" "I know everything about that ship, Alex. The Confederation thinks they are the only ones with surveillance capabilities." Ilara tapped her temple. "While they have been studying us, we have been studying them right back." And what have we learned? Alex asked. That the Varunians are arrogant, dismissive, and dangerously underestimate humanity, Elara replied, which works entirely to our advantage. Chief Engineer Marco Ortega looked up from his console. Captain, we are approaching the Nexus system boundary. The distress beacon signal is getting stronger. All hands to battle stations, Elara ordered, her voice calm but commanding. Weapons systems on standby. Let's find out who's attacking our new allies. The Thunderchild sliced through space, a sleek predator with its teeth hidden. Behind it, the Confederation vessel followed at what its commander considered a safe distance. Neither ship knew they were heading into a storm that would change the galactic order forever. 3 days earlier, Ambassador Trell Vox had been enjoying a peaceful evening in the diplomatic quarter of Nexus Prime's capital city. The twin suns had set, casting the city in the purple twilight that humans found so enchanting. As the Nexian ambassador to Earth, Trell had come to appreciate many human customs, including their concept of happy hour. He was sipping a synthahol cocktail meant to replicate something called a margarita when his communication device chimed with the highest priority alert. Ambassador Vox. The voice of Premier Sally Krex came through, tight with tension. We have received a disturbing transmission from deep space. The Hive Collective has issued an ultimatum. Trell's inner membranes pulsed with anxiety. The Hive? They have been dormant for decades. Not anymore, Sally replied grimly. They demand we surrender our outer colonies or face extinction. They have already destroyed our research outpost on Nexus IV. That's madness. The Confederation Peace Treaty. The Confederation, Sally interrupted, has declared this an internal border dispute and refused intervention. Trell felt his 3 hearts sink. They are abandoning us? Worse, they have prohibited any member species from providing aid, including humans. Silence hung between them as the implications settled in Trell's mind. What do we do? He finally asked. That's why I'm contacting you, Ambassador. The Council believes our only hope may lie with Earth. But if the Confederation has forbidden... Yes, officially Earth cannot help us, Sally agreed. But humans have a reputation for interpreting rules creatively when they believe in a cause. Trell considered this. During his 3 years on Earth, he'd witnessed humanity's strange duality. They could be peaceful, collaborative, and diplomatic. But they could also become intensely protective, fiercely loyal, and, when threatened, terrifyingly resolute. I will contact Earth immediately, Trell decided. But I should warn you, Premier, if we invite humans into this conflict, we may be opening a door we cannot close. Our civilization faces extinction, Ambassador. We will take that chance. Back in the present, Pax Vroon watched with growing concern as both his ship and the human vessel approached Nexus Prime. Why would a human military vessel respond to a Nexian distress call? He demanded. The Confederation explicitly forbade intervention in this conflict. Perhaps they didn't receive the directive, Lena suggested, though her tone indicated she didn't believe that for a second. Or perhaps, Zorb added ominously, they chose to ignore it. Impossible. Pax slammed a tentacle down. No species would dare defy a direct Confederation order. As if in answer to his outburst, the view screen lit up with energy signatures as the human ship activated its weapons systems. Commander. Colin called out, his young voice cracking with alarm. The Thunderchild is accelerating toward Nexus Prime. They are on an intercept course with multiple Hive vessels attacking the planet. Hail them immediately. Pax ordered. Remind Captain Ward that intervention is prohibited. The communication officer tried repeatedly, but the human ship wasn't responding. They are ignoring us, Zorb stated the obvious. Scan the planet, Pax demanded, suddenly feeling a creeping dread. The images that appeared on the view screen silenced everyone on the bridge. The beautiful purple surface of Nexus Prime was scarred with impact craters. Cities burned. Orbital platforms fell from the sky like dying stars. The Hive isn't just attacking, Lena whispered in horror. They are exterminating. Pax felt his conviction waver. The Confederation had classified this as a border dispute, an internal matter between the Nexians and the Hive. But this was genocide. Commander, Callan's voice was barely audible. The Thunderchild is engaging the Hive vessels. They are broadcasting on all frequencies. Let us hear it, Pax ordered. Captain Alara Ward's voice filled the bridge, cold and hard as steel. Attention, Hive vessels. This is Captain Ward of the Earthship Thunderchild. You are committing acts of genocide against our allies. Stand down immediately or be destroyed. The Hive's response came immediately, a barrage of energy weapons directed at the human ship. What happened next would be recorded in Confederation archives as the Nexus incident. Later historians would mark it as the moment everything changed. The Thunderchild didn't just fight back. It unleashed hell. Pax and his crew watched in stunned silence as the seemingly outmatched human vessel executed combat maneuvers with impossible precision. They fired weapons the Confederation had no record of, targeted Hive weak points they shouldn't have known existed, and moved with a ferocity that defied tactical analysis. How are they doing this? Pax whispered. Rage, Commander, Lena answered quietly. Human rage. The Hive vessels began to fall, one after another. The Thunderchild took damage but fought on with increasing intensity. And then more human ships appeared from hyperspace, a fleet that should not have existed. This is Admiral Hannah Richardson of the Earth Defense Force, a new voice announced across all channels. The Nexian people are under our protection. Any vessel attacking them will be considered an enemy of Earth and treated accordingly. The remaining Hive ships retreated, their collective consciousness apparently deciding that exterminating the Nexians wasn't worth facing whatever humanity had become. As silence fell across the battlefield, the human admiral spoke again, this time addressing the Confederation directly. To all Confederation observers, you witnessed this atrocity and chose to do nothing. Remember this day. Remember what your inaction cost the people of Nexus Prime. And remember what happened when you stood aside and let monsters do their work. The transmission cut off. Commander, Zorb said, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. High Command is requesting our immediate report. Pax stared at the viewscreen, at the burning world they had been ordered to abandon, at the human ships now deploying relief vessels and medical teams. Tell them, Pax hesitated, all three of his heads lowered in shame, tell them we have gravely misunderstood humanity. Later, as the Nexian survivors were being evacuated and treated, Ambassador Trelvox found Captain Alara Ward overlooking the ruins of what had once been a beautiful coastal city. You came, Trell said simply. Despite your government's treaties. Despite the Confederation's threats. You came. Ilara's gaze remained fixed on the destruction before them. We did. Why? Trell asked, though he thought he already knew the answer. Because it was right, she replied. Then, after a pause, she added, and because we know what it's like when civilized worlds stand by and watch suffering. The Confederation will retaliate, Trell warned. They won't tolerate this level of defiance. At this, Alara finally turned to face him, and what Trell saw in her eyes made his inner membranes contract with both fear and awe. It wasn't just determination or courage. It was that uniquely human emotion, rage, controlled but not diminished, focused like a laser on those who would harm the innocent. Let them try, she said quietly. Trell believed her. And somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, Commander Pax Vroon was drafting a report that would send shockwaves through the Galactic Confederation, a warning about underestimating the species that turned protective rage into a weapon more powerful than any technology. The universe was about to learn why provoking human rage was the last mistake many civilizations would ever make. 6 months after the Nexus incident, Commander Pax Vroon stood before the Galactic Confederation High Council. The Grand Chamber, with its soaring crystal arches and floating light spheres, normally inspired awe. Today it felt like a tribunal. Commander Vroon, spoke High Chancellor Dres Malvax, his wispy form barely visible in the central podium's mist. Your report on the human intervention at Nexus Prime has caused considerable consternation. I reported what I observed, Chancellor Pax replied, keeping his three heads perfectly level in a show of respect. The humans prevented genocide while we watched. Murmurs rippled through the 1,000-member council. Chancellor Malvax raised a tendril for silence. Your report suggests humanity possesses military capabilities we had not anticipated. More concerning, it implies criticism of Confederation policy regarding the Hive-Nexian conflict. The facts imply criticism, Chancellor, not my report, Pax said. He wouldn't have dared speak so boldly 6 months ago, but witnessing the burning of Nexus Prime had changed him. The humans saved millions while we debated protocols. A harsh buzz came from Council member Tra Zenith, a silicon-based consciousness housed in a hovering mechanical shell. The humans violated 13 separate provisions of the Non-Intervention Treaty. They deployed prohibited weapons technology. They threatened a recognized galactic power and saved an entire civilization from extinction, Pax countered. Chancellor Malvax's misty form swirled with displeasure. You sound like you admire these humans, Commander. Pax hesitated. 6 months ago, he'd have sneered at the suggestion. Now? I respect them, he admitted. Their emotional nature, which we dismissed as primitive, drives them to action when others hesitate. Their rage, which we mocked as unstable, becomes focused purpose when directed at injustice. Dangerous talk, hissed another council member. The truth is often dangerous, Pax replied. The Nexians now call humanity their greatest allies. Trade agreements, cultural exchanges, mutual defense pacts all established in months. Meanwhile, 63 worlds have formally questioned their Confederation membership since our inaction. Chancellor Malvax's form darkened. You have made your position clear, Commander. The Council will deliberate on the human question. Until then, you are relieved of command pending reassignment. Pax bowed all three heads, as the Council wishes. As he left the chamber, Pax felt strangely unburdened. For centuries, the Confederation had maintained galactic stability through careful neutrality and non-intervention. But watching Nexus Prime burn while they debated had shown him the cost of such caution. Perhaps humanity's rage wasn't so primitive after all. On Earth, in the headquarters of the United Earth Government, Admiral Hannah Richardson faced her own reckoning. The Galactic Confederation has formally censured Earth, President Omar Khatri announced to the small group gathered in the secure conference room. They have imposed trade restrictions, revoked our observer status, and threatened further sanctions if we don't withdraw from Nexian space. Admiral Richardson remained impassive. And your response, Mr. President? Khatri smiled thinly. I told them to put their sanctions where the sun doesn't shine. Diplomatically, of course. Scattered laughter broke the tension. The truth is, Khatri continued, we expected this. What we didn't expect was the reaction from other worlds. He gestured to Foreign Secretary Diana Vega. Vega activated the room's holographic display, showing a galactic map with dozens of highlighted systems. These 47 worlds have reached out privately to establish direct relations with Earth, bypassing Confederation protocols, Vega explained. Most were impressed by our response at Nexus Prime. Some have their own grievances with Confederation inaction. All of them want what we represent. And what's that? Asked Captain Alara Ward, newly promoted after the Thunderchild's actions. Hope, Vega said simply. The hope that someone will come when they call. Richardson nodded thoughtfully. So we have accidentally sparked a galactic realignment. Nothing about what you did was accidental, Admiral, President Khatri said. You made a moral choice, knowing the consequences. The room fell silent as everyone contemplated the magnitude of the change they'd initiated. There's something else. Intelligence Director Felix Maddox broke the silence. Our sources inside the Confederation report unusual movement from the Hive Collective. They are mobilizing on a scale we haven't seen before. Retaliation for Nexus Prime? Ward suggested. No, Maddox shook his head. Something bigger. They are preparing for full-scale war. Against us? Richardson asked. Against the Confederation itself, Maddox clarified. The Hive views the Nexus incident differently than we do. They don't see it as humanity defending the innocent. They see it as proof that the Confederation is weak and fractured. And a fractured Confederation means opportunity, Khatri concluded grimly. Exactly, Mr. President. The Hive has been contained for centuries by the threat of unified Confederation response. Now that unity is in question. Richardson leaned forward. So the Hive is planning to attack the Confederation, potentially triggering an interstellar war, because we exposed a weakness in the system? That's the intelligence assessment, Maddox confirmed. Then we need to warn them, Ward said immediately. We have tried, Vega sighed. They have rejected all communication attempts since the sanctions were announced. President Khatri looked around the table. Options? Richardson exchanged glances with Ward before speaking. Mr. President, if the Confederation won't listen to our warnings, perhaps they will listen to our actions. Again. What are you proposing, Admiral? The Hive respects only strength. Let's show them some. Former Commander Pax Vroon, now relegated to a minor administrative post on the Confederation capital world of Harmonium, was analyzing trade reports when the alarms began. The emergency broadcast system activated across the planet. Attention all citizens. This is not a drill. Hive collective warships have entered the Harmonium system. Proceed to designated shelter areas immediately. Repeat, this is not a drill. Pax felt his 3 hearts nearly stop. The Hive, attacking Harmonium itself? Impossible. The Confederation capital was the most heavily defended world in the galaxy. He rushed to the nearest public view screen, joining hundreds of other stunned Confederation citizens watching as the orbital defense grid activated. The sky above Harmonium lit up with energy weapons and defensive arrays. How many ships? Someone asked. Reports say over 500. Another replied, voice trembling. Pax felt ice in his veins. The entire Confederation fleet numbered less than 400 vessels. If the reports were accurate, Harmonium was doomed. Why would they do this? A young Trelaxian wondered aloud, her luminescent skin pulsing with fear. The Confederation has never directly threatened the Hive. Because they can, Pax answered bitterly. Because after Nexus Prime, they know we won't fight for others, so perhaps we won't even fight for ourselves. The first explosions lit up the sky as Hive ships broke through the outer defenses. Buildings shook. The crowd began to panic. Pax found himself herding people toward shelter entrances, using his authority as a former commander to maintain some semblance of order. But he knew it was futile. The Hive didn't take prisoners. They consumed worlds, stripped them of resources, and moved on. Harmonium's billions would be reduced to ash and memory. As the bombardment intensified, Pax looked to the sky one last time, expecting to see the distinctive black and yellow hulls of Hive destroyers descending through the atmosphere. Instead, he saw something impossible. Human ships. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. They emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, directly between Harmonium and the Hive Armada. Leading them was a vessel Pax recognized immediately, the Thunderchild. The public communication channels suddenly activated with a message broadcast planet-wide. Attention, citizens of Harmonium. This is Captain Alara Ward of the Earth Defense Force. We have detected an unprovoked Hive attack on your world as signatories to the Galactic Peace Accords. We are responding to this act of aggression. Please remain in your shelters until the situation is resolved. A different voice cut in Admiral Richardson, Pax guessed from his intelligence briefings. Attention, Hive collective vessels. Your unprovoked attack on Harmonium constitutes an act of war against a peaceful civilization. You will power down your weapons and withdraw immediately, or you will be destroyed. You have 3 minutes to comply. The crowd around Pax had fallen completely silent, staring at the view screen in disbelief. Humans coming to the defense of the very Confederation that had sanctioned them. Why would they help us? the young Trelaxian asked, echoing everyone's thoughts. After how the council treated them, Pax found himself smiling with all three mouths. Because that's what humans do. They protect, even those who don't deserve protection. The 3-minute deadline passed. The hive response came in the form of concentrated weapons fire directed at the human fleet. What followed defied explanation by conventional Confederation military theory. The human vessels moved with synchronized precision that suggested either an impossible level of coordination or a battle plan so comprehensive it had anticipated every hive maneuver. "Look at them," breathed a retired Confederation military officer standing near Pax. "They are not just fighting. They are dancing." It was an apt description. The Earth ships seemed to flow around hive energy bursts, strike at critical junction points, and protect each other with interlocking defense screens. For every human vessel disabled, 5 hive ships fell. "How is this possible?" someone asked. "The hive outnumber them. Numbers mean little against skill and righteous fury," Pax replied, watching in awe as Captain Ward's Thunderchild carved through the hive formation. "The humans aren't just fighting with technology. They are fighting with conviction." The battle lasted just under 4 hours. When it ended, the remaining hive vessels fled into hyperspace, leaving behind a debris field of destroyed ships and a stunned Confederation capital. As emergency services began assessing damage, a new message came across all channels. This time it was President Omar Khatri of Earth, people of Harmonium, and all citizens of the Galactic Confederation. "Today humanity stood with you against aggression and destruction. We did so not because of treaties or political advantage, but because it was right. The Hive Collective believed the Confederation was weak and divided after Nexus Prime. Today we proved otherwise." He paused, and Pax could feel the weight of what would come next. But make no mistake, the threat has not passed. The Hive will return, stronger and more determined. They will target other worlds, testing for weakness. And when they do, humanity will again make a choice. Today, we chose to help despite your rejection. Tomorrow? That depends on what kind of galaxy you wish to build. The message ended, leaving the crowd in thoughtful silence. What did he mean? The young Trelaxian asked Pax. About what kind of galaxy we wish to build. Pax looked at the sky, where human vessels now worked alongside Confederation emergency ships to rescue stranded citizens and repair orbital platforms. He meant that the old way, the Confederation way of maintaining peace through non-intervention, has failed. The Hive attacked because they believed we wouldn't fight. And they were right. We wouldn't have fought. "But the humans fought for us," she said, wonderment in her voice. Yes, Pax nodded all 3 heads. That's the galaxy they want to build. One where the strong protect the vulnerable, not out of self-interest, but because it's right. "Is that possible?" she asked. "I don't know," Pax admitted. "But after today, I believe it's worth trying." 3 weeks later, Pax Vroon stood again before the Confederation High Council. This time, he wasn't alone. Beside him stood Captain Alara Ward, Ambassador Trelvox of Nexus Prime, and representatives from 27 worlds that had formally requested new treaties with both Earth and the Confederation. Chancellor Malvax seemed diminished somehow, his misty form less imposing after the attack on Harmonium. "The Council has reviewed the events at Harmonium," Malvax began, along with the formal petition before us. "While the human intervention was unauthorized, we acknowledge that without it, Harmonium would have fallen." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. "Therefore, all sanctions against Earth are hereby lifted. Observer status is restored. The Council extends its formal gratitude to the Earth Defense Force for their assistance." Captain Ward stepped forward. "With respect, Chancellor, gratitude is insufficient. Earth did not act to earn thanks. We acted because it was necessary. And it will be necessary again." "What are you proposing, Captain?" Malvax asked warily. "Not a proposal, Chancellor. A reality." Ward's voice carried throughout the chamber without raising in volume. "The galaxy is changing. The Hive Collective has shown they will exploit any weakness. The Nexians nearly perished because of our divisions. Harmonium nearly fell for the same reason. She gestured to the representatives standing with her. These worlds understand what humanity has been saying. The old system of careful neutrality and non-intervention protects no one. It only delays the inevitable confrontation with forces that respect nothing but strength and unity. But Ambassador Vox stepped forward. The Nexian people lost half our population because the Confederation debated while our world burned. Never again. We stand with humanity and their vision of mutual defense and active protection. One by one, the other representatives voiced similar sentiments. The council listened in stunned silence. Chancellor Malvax's form swirled with agitation. "What exactly are you asking of the Confederation?" Pax spoke then, surprising himself with his boldness. "Not asking, Chancellor. Telling. These worlds, along with Earth, are forming a new alliance, one committed to active defense of all peaceful civilizations. You can join us, or you can continue your policy of neutrality. But the next time the Hive attacks or any aggressor threatens innocent lives, we will not wait for Confederation debate to conclude." "This is unprecedented," Malvax protested. "A challenge to the very foundation of galactic governance." "No," Captain Ward corrected firmly. "It's an evolution. A necessary one." She turned to address the full council. "For centuries you have mistaken humans' capacity for rage as a weakness, a sign of our primitive nature. Today I want you to understand what it truly is." Ward's eyes swept the chamber, meeting the gaze of countless alien species. Human rage isn't just an emotion. It's a promise. When we see injustice, when we witness suffering that could be prevented, something awakens in us, something ancient and powerful. Our ancestors called it righteous fury, the fire that burns when the strong prey upon the weak, the flame that consumes hesitation and fear. The chamber was completely silent now. You watched Nexus Prime burn and debated protocols. We watched and acted. You faced the Hive at Harmonium and prepared to surrender. We faced them and showed them the cost of aggression. She stepped forward, her voice now carrying an edge that made even Pax's triple spine straighten. "The Confederation has kept peace through caution and compromise. That era is ending. The Hive and others like them respect only one thing: the absolute certainty that aggression will be met with overwhelming force. Humanity brings that certainty. Our rage, our unwillingness to stand by while innocents suffer, is not a diplomatic inconvenience to be managed. It is a weapon more powerful than any technology." Ward paused, letting her words sink in. "Join us or don't. But know this, the next world that burns will not burn alone. Humanity will stand with them. And may whatever gods the aggressors worship have mercy on them, because we will not." As Captain Ward finished speaking, Pax noticed something remarkable. The council members, beings who had evolved beyond emotional displays eons ago, were showing signs of being moved. Some leaned forward in interest. Others communicated rapidly with their delegations. Chancellor Malvax's misty form had stabilized, taking on a more defined shape than Pax had ever seen. "Captain Ward," Malvax said, his voice different somehow, "the Confederation has existed for 50,000 years. Change does not come easily to such an ancient institution." Ward nodded, preparing for rejection. But Malvax continued, surprising everyone. "Perhaps it is time for change." The Chancellor turned to address the full council. "The humans have shown us something we had forgotten. Sometimes, peace requires not just patience and diplomacy, but conviction and action. The willingness to fight for others, not just for ourselves." He faced Ward again. "The Confederation will need time to adjust its policies. Our ways are deeply ingrained. But we would be honored to work with Earth and your alliance to create a new framework for galactic security." Max could hardly believe what he was hearing. The Confederation actually admitting it needed to change. As the session concluded and the various representatives filed out, Pax found himself walking beside Captain Ward. "That was unexpected," he admitted. "The Council never changes course so dramatically." Ward smiled. Having your capital almost destroyed tends to clarify priorities. But you knew they would agree, Pax realized. You counted on the attack on Harmonium to change minds where words had failed. We hoped, Ward corrected. We didn't start this, Commander. The Hive did when they attacked Nexus Prime. We simply made sure their aggression had consequences. They reached the grand entrance of the council chamber, where Ambassador Vox waited with Admiral Richardson. What happens now? Pax asked. Admiral Richardson looked out at the Harmonium skyline, still showing scars from the Hive attack. Now the real work begins. Building an alliance that protects rather than merely observes. Teaching others that standing by while worlds burn is no longer acceptable. It won't be easy, Pax cautioned. Many in the Confederation still believe non-intervention is the safest policy. Nothing worth doing is ever easy, Commander, Ward replied. But as we like to say on Earth, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. Pax considered this a profound philosophy. More than philosophy, Richardson said. It's a commitment. As they parted ways, Pax Vroon found himself reflecting on everything he'd learned about humans in the past 6 months. He had been so wrong about them, so dismissive of their emotional nature, particularly their capacity for rage. Now he understood. Human rage wasn't a primitive response to be mocked. It was a force of nature to be respected, a promise that injustice would not stand unchallenged, a declaration that some things were worth fighting for, even dying for. It had taken the burning of worlds for the galaxy to understand this truth about humanity. But as the saying went, better late than never. The universe would never be the same again. And that, Pax decided with all 3 of his heads, was probably for the best.